Good evening, folks. Welcome to Feisty Chess. Let's see. We've paired as black against Nabil Halaji on Lee Chess. We've got e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. We're playing two knights. Alright, we got knight g5. I'm going to go for it. I'm going for the Traxler. I saw a video on this recently. I probably don't remember a lot of the lines. Alright, he's going for... This is not the best way to do it. Actually, the best way for white to do it in a technical sense is bishop takes f7, believe it or not. But we've got bishop f2 here, and king f1 is the best move for him. In which case, I need to play queen e7. If he takes on f2, I've got knight takes e4, check, and then my queen's getting out. I'm getting quite loose. Okay, with queen e7, he takes the rook, and my move is d5, I believe. Maybe knight to d4. Okay, it's one of those two things. d5 makes a lot of sense. Excuse me. Okay, here comes our crash course, crash review course in the Traxler. d5 hits his bishop. E takes d5. Most natural response. Then I got bishop g4, his queen. His queen is trapped. But how trapped? He can play bishop e2 in that case. Okay. Down a rook here. I should really know what I'm doing. Knight d4 or knight takes e4, both options here as well. He takes d5. I gotta spend some time on this. d5, if he takes with the pawn, bishop here, bishop back. No, that leads to too many trades. So let's rule out d5 for now. Knight takes e5. The e4 might make d5 more attractive in the future. It also protects that bishop for now. Knight to d4, though. That seems like a move, but what's the purpose of it other than to just kind of... Okay, I think it's knight d4. I want to look at this. This reminds me of the lines I've encountered. Knight d4. One critical idea is, what if he takes? Well, then I've got knight takes e4 with check. His king moves somewhere. I've got ideas like d5. My bishop is getting into the fray. These knights on e4 and d4, between them, cover all four of these squares. My queen's ready to slide out. I think that's the critical move. I don't think he can take the bishop. And if he plays something like d3, then d5. Now can't be the time for d5. But what am I threatening with knight to d4? There's not an immediate threat. That's why it's counterintuitive. Knight takes e4 kind of introduces some threats. But I know it's not knight takes e4 because there are lines here that are critical where I get to play d5. Right. And if the knight is on d4, the bishop can't come back to d2. So knight d4 actually threatens... I'm sorry, if the knight is here, the bishop can't come back. So this is actually the move. So now the bishop can't come back here. If I get d5 in, say he brings his knight back to f7, which is the natural move. If I get d5 in, he takes with the pawn. Bishop g4 does trap the queen because the bishop can't come back because then it just takes and the queen is still trapped. Okay, we're working our way through the tactics of the Traxler variation. One of the most exciting tactical variations in all of chess. And I'm guessing normally somebody who plays the Traxler variation doesn't spend 4 minutes, 5 minutes on move 2 here. Move 7. Okay, after d3, d5 still seems like a good idea. Yeah. So this queen has some breathing room on d2 here, but there must be a way to exploit that. There's bishop e3 after that. So I'm looking at d5, whoops, d5, e takes. Bishop takes might not matter too much. Bishop g4, he's got to go queen d2, and then I've got bishop e3. Queen can come back to e1. There must be ways for me to make some threats from that position. d5's got to be the move here, so I'm going for that. Doesn't get a lot feistier, doesn't get a lot rowdier than the Traxler counter gambit. If queen e1, I've got knight takes c2. Okay, I'm seeing that line now. Okay, so say pawn takes or maybe bishop takes. Okay, here comes bishop g4, and then queen d2, bishop e3. Queen e1, he's also got, he can swing out here, but I think that drops the bishop. All right, so queen d1 to try to hang on to that bishop. Queen e1, I should say. Oh my, no, I can play checks on e2. Okay, bishop g4 is definitely the move here. Queen d2 is definitely the response. Okay, now I can choose between bishop, check, and he just has to give me the queen for the 2 pieces. Is that the way to go? Or alternately I've got bishop e3, queen e1, I'm down a rook. He gives me a queen for 2 pieces, and I'm still down material. I've also sacrificed a pawn at this point. I'm going to get that knight in the corner is the thing. That knight in the corner, I should be able to get. He's got d6, and he might try to sneak out of there. I'll have to have time to remove my bishop. Okay, so let's look at this line. Bishop check, queen takes, knight takes, king takes. My bishop is under fire. It's unclear. His rook will be coming into the game. Alternative. Okay, I've already looked at bishop e3. Let's look at other possibilities here. Knight e4 is one. Knight e4, it looks like he has to take it. And then queen here, but then he can just take my bishop. Actually, he's threatening to take that bishop right away. And I don't have bishop e3. That doesn't lead to anything, does it? I was hallucinating. That square is not protected. The queen just takes. I can fork, but I'm already down too much material. Okay, so it looks like this is the move, unless I can find some awesome checkmating continuation. Knight e4 looks like one idea to do something like that. But I don't see a way to get my queen in there that does a lot of good. Knight h5? Not seeing it here. I'm going to go for this before I run out of too much time. Oh, he can take with the king. If he takes with the king, I've got knight check here. Oh, this is elaborate stuff. Actually, okay, he'll take with the king. I missed that somehow. And then I've got a knight check here. King e1. Queen h4 check. King could also come to g1. Whew, I'm out of my depth here, folks. Only down a rook at this point. Bishop h4. Bishop h4 just might have a lot of sting to it. Knight e4 though, that's the most forcing. Knight e4. I'm looking at this check again. King's got to take. Knight check. King can come to g6. Maybe just queen f6 is good enough after that. Okay, this has gone on too long. I've got to make a decision. Knight f7 would be hitting that. No, okay. Okay. Bishop h4 might leave the most potential here. I got this hunch that I'm passing up some forced win. Let's hope so, because otherwise I just squandered a ton of time. This does give him access to g1. I think the threat here, though, is knight to e4. So these moves are kind of related. I'm playing knight to e4. My follow-up idea would have been bishop h4. I just thought it's probably a little sneakier to play bishop h4 first, because it looks like I'm just saving my bishop. Okay, he's that move doesn't really help deflect from any of these threats. So knight e4, takes, check on f6, king to h1, and then I've got knight check on d2, on e2. So I like the looks of knight e4 here. I've got very little time left, but in case this doesn't force a mate and I'm made to play a longer drawn out game, let's just play it now. Hitting the queen. Yeah. And now thanks to bishop h4, he doesn't have, well, he wouldn't have had queen g5 anyway. My knight covers that. Okay, the plan is queen f6, and we're gonna, if not mate black, then at least win his queen, mate white, at least win the queen. For a couple of knights, I suppose. And maybe live off mostly on that 10-second increment in a materially up middle game. Okay, here comes the check. And here comes the queen, after which I'll still be threatening checkmate. A couple of different mates if I'm right. Oh no. No, this doesn't quite work, does it? Okay, but my knight's not going to be taken anytime soon. He's got this bishop here that's a pain. Oh! Okay, no, the bishop can't take because then there's a mate on f2. So knight e2 check, queen has to take, bishop takes, and then I'm threatening two different mates. I don't think he can stop them both. Can he? Bishop takes. If bishop takes, I just mate him on f2. If instead g3, I can just mate him immediately on f1. If h3, I think I just go bishop g3 and nothing changes. Knight e2, check, take, bishop takes, h3, bishop g3. My bishop is no longer on g4, so yeah, this should win. I love the obstruction theme here. Bishop can't take because of the mate on f2. Yeah, b3 was not what the position called for. He needed to play maybe knight c3 or left on the king side maybe. Okay, he stops the f2 mate, but not the f1 mate. Knight c3 would have changed that. Whew. Killer game. Exciting game here. Very feisty. So, happy to have played that one. Thank you for the game, Nabil Halaji. Let's go to the analysis board. I think, I don't know what the computer's going to think about this. We'll keep it on though. So yeah, I don't usually play the Traxler. I am adventurous, and I like the two knights defense, and I love when my opponent plays knight g5, but this is the first time in years that I've tried the Traxler. I saw a video by the Butcher. This got a great YouTube channel. Mayo is his name. He did a video on the Traxler that kind of inspired me. So look, the advantage, let's see, bishop c, yeah, the advantage goes to 2.3, but the computer has a hard time with this position. Notice the computer says advantage 2.3, but then it's suggesting d3. It does like knight f7, so white's up a pawn, and he's forking two majors. But yeah, now we get our pawn back. And here's some of the lines just for a taste. If black takes, you check here. King g1 is the only move, apparently. And this can go into a draw, force a draw line. But king g1, queen h4, threatening a mate and getting out of trouble here. g3. And then the knight takes on g3. Now knight takes h8, huh? Is that the draw line? Knight takes h1. d3. A lot of these moves are unintuitive, but there's lots of stuff that can happen if white doesn't know that he has to go to g1. If he tries coming up here, you still go queen h4. We're looking at a mate threat here on f4, so g3. But then knight takes g3 once again. So the same theme occurs, and yeah, not queen takes here, but queen d4 check, king f3, and then d5, castling long, really. I would think d5 is... Oh, but he's got rook h4. Interesting. I didn't see that. So, castle long, or castle. Pinning that knight. Rook h4 anyway. e4 check. This is crazy stuff. Why not rook takes? Knight e5 check. Yeah, so it gets very wild. White knew not to take. You can take, but it leads to at best a draw for white with best play. So, without getting too into those lines, I'd recommend the Butcher's video on this, Mayo's video on the Traxler Counter Gambit to look at all these lines. He goes quite quickly through the lines, so it's one that you gotta tab back and forth just to keep up with what he's saying. Now queen e7 is really the only move. A knight takes h8. It likes d5 immediately here. I went with knight d4. Okay, here's the line. I should have known at least this far. I mean, this is the obvious move white's going to make. d5. He takes d5. Now knight d4. And now we're threatening this. So we kind of maybe transposed to something like this with knight d4 immediately. But here's the line that I should get to know. Knight d4. d3 is a mistake here, I think. Which is funny because we achieved this position. Also look at this, but d3 leads to this. After queen d2, bishop h4. Okay, black is crushing it here. Did I find all the right moves? We'll go back to the game and find out. But I think we basically transposed this. I went knight d4 first. This allows bishop f7 check. That's why it's a problem. White didn't see this. Interesting. Now d3. And what to do for black. Save the bishop. Yeah, but this bishop really plugs up the works. White can just kick my knight away. Knight to e6, that looks... But where else does the knight go? And probably can just chop off that knight and be fine for a simpler approach. Queen takes e6. And there's one less attacking piece for black. Queen f3, one more defending piece. Yeah, and yeah, this is just white being up. Let's see. Up a rook, more or less. I mean, he's going to probably lose that knight in the corner, but he's up the exchange at the worst. So I got the move order wrong. d5 is the critical move. And I think it would have been more helpful to understand why. And the reason is you want to prevent bishop f7 check. So that'll be a memory marker. They'll help me remember this in the future. But as it was, my opponent allowed me to transpose into this. Now d5. Okay. You got to go for king takes f2 here. And white can still hold some kind of advantage. But now we've transposed. And bishop g4 almost traps the queen. Man, all the calculations I made prior to playing bishop g4 were way off. I was looking at bishop here, thinking that the queen had to come here, thinking that there was a knight here protecting this bishop. So I was also looking at this and thinking his only legal move was to take and give up the queen. But this bishop is completely unprotected. So realizing both of those things, I thought, I better pull this bishop out of here. I mean, the Traxler is not about... It's all about giving up material, but you have to give up the right material or it doesn't work. This bishop is a key attacking piece. It likes knight to c3 better, but even there, and we can see that b3, let's go through the game, and we'll look at knight c3 in a minute. b3 is no good, because knight jumps in here, knight e4, d takes e4, apparently there's nothing better. Now, white is up a rook and a piece, but he's down a king, basically. Queen f4. He's going to just give up the queen for nothing. And then knight g6. Really, just giving that knight away already. h3. What about h3 immediately? Bishop h5. Yeah, I'm going to push this. I'm threatening knight takes here. I'm up. Let's see the material count. What we have the same is rook, two bishops, a knight. He's got a knight and a rook for my queen, but it's all about the activity of the pieces too, where he's way behind, and this knight is probably not surviving. Especially now that the bishop covers this diagonal. And if he ever tries g5 to get my bishop to come back so we could trade the knight off for it, I've got this en passant capture. So that's the best that white has. Anything else like this leads to a mate in 5, apparently. Yeah. Bishop takes e2. Bishop b5 check. The spite check, but I've just got c3. It's probably good enough. Bishop f4, and he's going to get mated on one of those. Oh, he can delay it with bishop f4. Okay, and then yeah. Okay, let's see how it would have differed if he'd have played knight to c3. That would have allowed him to activate his rook after all these exchanges. So back here, instead of b3, knight c3. Also gives him another option to capture with. So taking with the knight here would work. So after that, my knight e4 idea doesn't work so well. I'm trying not to look over here. What does work? What does work here? Quiz myself. Queen f8 perhaps? King g1. The knight guards e2. It provides a second guard on this, and it also, after this bishop comes out, the rook can guard the back rank. Those are all very important things that that knight to c3 does. And I would have had a hard time finding the answer to this. It says I'm up big time, but how do I make this work? Knight h4? Sorry, h5? I don't know. I don't want to spend all day here. Knight h5. Okay, I at least found it. So still threatening queen here. We're threatening knight g3? Maybe threatening queen check and then king g1 and then knight f4, and then we're looking at checking on e2 with two different knights. What's the idea? If black just plays a move, oh, that leads to knight takes c2. What if black just tries to get this bishop out? Queen f6, king g1, bishop e2. Ah, he can't take with the knight because of this same obstruction tactic. Can't take with the queen because of the mate. Queen f4, you gotta give up the queen again. Okay, so bishop e2 instead of knight e2 was good enough. What about h3? Nah, it's just bishop. Yeah, I can actually play queen f1 first, and then bishop check on g3 will be mate. Okay. Knight e4 doesn't work. It likes going for this. King d8. If he's going to check here, I can just grab with check. So king d8. The knight, that is. If he tries this, I'll just grab him with check. Knight takes e4. So now I got to go queen f8 for check. Fortunately, I have lots of different checks on the f file. King g1. Knight e2. Giving up, forcing to give up the queen. This doesn't work so well. Is that right? Because now h3 gets him out of some trouble because his knight also guards. This gives him an escape square and his knight guards g3. So he's up big time if I go for that. So I have to force it with knight here. And then he's got two knights and a rook for my queen, but I'm still all over him with mate threats. He'll just have a knight and the rook for the queen if I take on h8, which is a possibility here. Attacking the bishop, bishop a4, now king to c8. I could simply take, and then we've got a long middle game ahead of us. Yeah, the check on f1 doesn't do anything useful anymore. There's no dislodging that knight. So I'd probably just grab this knight in the corner here and go from there. Hope my queen gave me enough compensation. But he's got a strong knight. He's got the bishop pair like me. And that extra rook will get into play in time. I guess the plan here is to waltz your king over here and then get that rook out. Or something like that. Okay. So that would have been a better approach for white. Well, but I still have knight h5 here. Which I want to understand this line. It says to go for g3. But then I get this bishop h3 move. And he has to go back to the center because he'll get mated. What's wrong with this? Knight f3 check. Oh, just wins a queen. Wins a queen. So he goes back to the... Actually, he'll lose a queen either way here, won't he? Knight f3 check. But it's better for the king to be in the center. And now he can get this bishop out, at least. For some defense for that king. Bishop g5. Knight e4. We're trading off pieces. King takes d2, so he's coordinated. Okay, we've got a game here, but let's see. I'll probably win that rook. I'm basically up a rook for a queen here, so maybe it's not so much of a game. Okay. Well, knight c3 would have worked better, but wouldn't have solved all his problems. But I would have had to find knight h5. As it was, we had a neat checkmate ending, and I am happy about this. The two bishops and the queen there at the end of the day. h3 might buy him a little time. Actually, no. Queen f2. This would work as well. But queen f2 will force matters. He ended it like that. Could have very well ended it like this. It's a little more materially efficient. But anyway, very happy about this game. This is why I play chess, right? Traxler. Now this could have gone very wrong, could have gone south, but at least I knew I would give it my all and played according to what I like to see in my games. The Traxler is not unsound. If you're okay with a draw as black, the Traxler is a heck of a fighting weapon, especially if your opponent wants to fight for the win. So, very happy about this game. You know, life's short. Chess has way more to offer than you'll ever experience in your whole life. What kind of chess do you want to experience? I want to play games like this. I want to play wild, attacking, swashbuckling games like this. So I'm very happy for this, and I want to thank my opponent for going into knight g5 and allowing me to play Traxler. I'm going to memorize this game, not just because I enjoy it, but this will help me to play better Traxler games in the future. And now I remember this line, this key line, which is d5 right here, not the immediate knight d4, which allows white basically to keep his material edge, and he can probably safely take this bishop now, for instance. Yeah, and he's still a lot better. Although that does look a little scary. But just play something like d3 and keep threatening to take that bishop. So there's lots of ways for white to win this now, but basically he's going to have his material edge, and I might have some initiative, but it's not going to compensate at this point. d5 immediately instead. That's one key thing to remember. But it's important to remember these patterns as well. So memorizing your games is really important, and it helps. It's more fun to memorize your games when you play games like this. Then I'll have a template in my head for how to play Traxler better in the future, and maybe I'll pick this up more often. I'm still not through with these other main lines in the two knights. I like d5, and after this, I like all three of these options. I like knight d4, like knight a5, the main line. I like b5, the Ulvestad variation as well. So, more two knights to come. Bring on the knight g5s, people. Stay feisty. It's been fun. I'll see you next time.